Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, young man. How are you?
Very good. You? You're looking chipper.
I thought I'd put a tie on because to record our case studies.
Yeah, looking very smart. What's the little badge?
What, this one?
Yeah, it's quite cool. Oh, you're like a yin and yang thing.
Yeah. That was given to me by Jeffrey Mishlove in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got two. I'll wear one with another jacket as well.
What does it actually signify? Or was it just a sort of general?
It's a yin-yang symbol.
Oh, yeah, just yin and yang.
But he had them specially designed because they're multicoloured.
Yeah, I was going to say, 'cause they're normally black and white, aren't they? That's really cool, actually. Yeah, very trendy.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
So,
I'm still going through your book. I was on the train on Tuesday.
It's a heavy read.
Working my way through. It's quite a hard read, isn't it, really?
It is a hard read, yeah. But it was a hard write.
Yeah, I can imagine it was, actually. Yeah. A lot of the words I didn't even know what they were. I had to look them up.
Yeah. But then that's what's required of academics, you see.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't tend to read academic books as a rule.
No.
Well, I don't tend to read much anyway, actually. Most of it is now online stuff, isn't it? But that sort of book is very sort of doctory.
Yeah.
Language and quotations and stuff, isn't it, really?
That's how you get a PhD. You have to learn to write in that style.
Yeah, I don't think that's for me.
It's not an easy thing to do. And that's why it comes after doing a bachelor's degree, then a master's degree. You go through the steps, to get there. And then
I've never really understood it all, to be honest. I never sort of got that whole concept of what the point of it was, particularly.
The point of what?
Well, just, going to do like university and doing a master's and a PhD. I didn't really understand why you need to follow that sort of process. I guess it's just the way the system's been designed, isn't it? And the kind of journey you have to go on if you want to be dealing with those types of careers and people, I suppose.
It's a journey you have to take if you want to be regarded as an expert in your field.
Yeah, right.
Because, the idea is that you know everything there is to know up to that point, and you're breaking new ground.
Right, okay, yeah.
And contributing to more knowledge, so you're standing on the shoulders of people past, and adding new knowledge to the mountain of evidence. And you're creating something unique. I mean, the science of spirit possession. No one's ever done that before.
Yeah.
No one's ever looked at it scientifically.
Yeah, it's interesting. You can kind of get that as well when you read the book, because I've probably got halfway through now, and you can sort of see that, you're sort of blazing like a new trail on it, really.
And there are different perspectives when you look at spirit possession. There's the theological perspective, the religious one, right? And that is a particular mindset, a particular way of seeing things. And I say at one point in the book, I can't remember what chapter it's in, but it says perception is everything.
Yeah.
Perception is the way you see the world.
Yeah, and everyone's got a different view of it, haven't they?
It is everything. So if you can change your perception, you see everything differently.
Yeah.
And the perceptions are the theological, the anthropological, the psychiatric. The psychiatric and the psychological are different.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because psychiatric looks at it from the medical model, which is physical, medicine, the biology and the physics, and anatomy. And the psychological is behaviour and emotions. So they're completely different. So what I've tried to do in that book is present examples from the different perspectives.
All of the different,
And cut through them all and say they're all wrong.
Well, yeah, like the churchy thing's interesting. There's quite a lot of churchy stuff in there, which, you're going over like different religions and their take on possession, that kind of thing, which, the more you read of it, the more you realise that, they're all basically talking about the same thing, effectively, just in different words, but kind of it's sort of it's documented, but they don't actually talk about it in real life, do they?
And this is a discovery that I made in my own perceptual awareness. I suddenly realised, while I was doing this research, I was up at Bangor, I suddenly realised that all religions are talking about the same thing, but they're presenting it differently.
Yeah.
And they present it differently according to their culture and their language and the historical events of the period. And that's what makes them different, but the essential underlying principles are the same.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And I came to realise that when I was doing this research. So when you're looking at spirit possession, you're looking at universal principles, but they're couched in different language according to the worldview, according to the perception.
Yeah, like the jinn, isn't it?
And what you and I are doing, under guidance from Chen, is taking another worldview, another perception, a different way of looking at it again. So, and this all fits in really nicely with research into mediumship, because when you talk to a medium, as I'm talking to you, and you're working as a medium, and I ask you what you see, you have a particular perception, a particular way of seeing what you see. Now, is that your perception, or is that Chen's?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You don't know where it comes from, do you? Because obviously two people would see the same thing differently, or present it in a different manner.
And this is of particular interest to those researchers who are serious about researching mediumship. But up to now, I must confess that I'm a bit disillusioned by the absence of genuine researchers who genuinely want to research genuine mediumship, because we are providing them with an avenue and they're not accepting it. They're not accepting it. They're continuing down their own pathway with their own narrow perception and disregarding
everything else.
Disregarding other methods of approaching the subject. So we're forging a furrow, if you like.
Yeah.
That we're willing to share with others, but they're not taking up the challenge.
Not as yet. It was interesting actually. So I went to a meditation group last night, and I don't know if you ever met Sarah. She's on the Facebook as SMT therapist, and she deals a lot with like PTSD and traumas and all that kind of stuff. And she's doing a couple of these. I'm not exactly sure whether it's masters or PhDs or whatever, but she's doing some course 2 days a week up at that place that you go. The psychiatry place in London? Is it Institute of Psychiatrists or something? So she's doing some course in that area. Can't remember exactly what she said now at the time, but she was saying that she's working with a lot of the people that are presenting, a lot of the people on the course are all kind of psychiatrists and those sorts of people. And she said, of course, she's coming at it from a much more spiritual place, and she said she's been shocked really at all the conversations that they're having and their types of teaching. Because she said she's asking questions and saying, well, what about this and what about that? And said, no, just forget all that. That's all non-provable woo-woo. No, there's nothing to do with spiritual stuff. Blah blah blah. And of course, she said, obviously she's got more of a spiritual background, so she's asking a lot of questions, and she said already she's seemed to be the black sheep of the class because she's not accepting a lot of the teaching that they're trying to give, and she's just questioning it, and she said they get really antsy as well when you start to question them on it and say, well, can we talk about this, because I think it'd be a good discussion.
But I had the same problem, going right back to when I was doing my bachelor's degree in psychology. When I first went to university, I had the same, and I was told categorically not to talk about these things. And I had to go back and rewrite essays from their perspective, and to not investigate these avenues. So the educational system is deliberately structured in such a way to miseducate people.
Yeah, that's what she was saying, because she was saying, in a lot of these open classroom discussions, she's asking a lot of questions that they can't answer, and they don't want to answer any of it either.
No.
She's saying, but surely it's open then. We haven't concluded this because there's too many of these, different topics that haven't been covered.
Well, this is the closed mind of education. Teaching people to have closed minds. So it raises the question, doesn't it? The work that you and I do, right? What chance have we got in educating anybody else?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, you're educating different types of people, aren't you?
Yeah.
The people that aren't in that box are the ones that we're aiming at, I guess, aren't we? Whereas,
yeah.
like Sarah said, she said, as soon as I get my qualifications, I'm just going to go off and do my own thing, because she said, but obviously they're forcing me down this track of not talking about anything spiritual, not engaging with anything spiritual, and, just what you said, really. You're sort of being forced to follow their remit rather than...
Yeah. But this takes us back to the original comment that you made, reading my book, about how academic it is and difficult to read. It's because that's how academia teaches you to write. And my supervisor, when I was researching for that book, would often say to me, look, you've got to learn to produce what's expected of you by academia. And once you've done it, and you've got your qualification, then you can go away and do your own thing.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But you can't think, you can't be a free thinker all the time. You're having to jump through the hoops that they give you to jump through. So actually going through the process helps you to understand just how biased the system really is.
Yeah, that's what Sarah was saying, really, because she's looking at, treating people PTSD and that kind of thing, and, those sorts of traumas, and she's saying, obviously, they talked about anxiety, and apparently lecturers said there's no such thing as anxiety. And Sarah said, well, I have a lot of clients that, have anxiety, and it's a debilitating, effectively, disease that stops them working. And apparently the teacher said, that's a rubbish, they need to pull themselves together, blah, blah, blah. And she said, they wouldn't go there. And she said, I get people in my room that are shaking, that are clearly, suffered some trauma. It's made them anxious to go outside the house, etc., etc. And she said, obviously, these people don't meet, the people that are teaching the courses don't meet any of these real people that are suffering with these real problems.
You don't. Well, anxiety is just a posh word for fear. And fear is scientifically validated. It's part of the fight or flight response. It's physiological. Right? Yeah. When a person is frightened, they're shaking because you've got adrenaline and all sorts of chemicals going through the body. Science knows this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't treat it using the power of the mind.
No, they want to just treat it with drugs, don't they? Yeah, because that's what she was saying, that obviously there's a trauma there that hasn't been, either diagnosed or treated. Yeah. And this lecturer said, that's a rubbish. It's like, that's a rubbish. Not going there on anxiety or something. And she said, that was that. And she said, I get all these people sat in front of me that are clearly in a terrible state from the things that they've been through.
Well, one of the first things I learned, even before I went to university, I studied hypnosis. And I learned how to deal with stress and anxiety using hypnosis before I went to study psychology. So I knew all about that before I went there. And of course I was challenging what they were teaching.
Yeah.
And I was told not to challenge it. But I had that knowledge right from the beginning. And that comes from spiritual insight. When you're told things, an idea is put in your mind by spirit. That's the way to go. You've got to go with it. So, what have we got today? We've got 6 cases. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6 cases. So,